Hello, Hacksters! Welcome to Hackster Café. It's my favorite day of the week, Tuesday at 10 a.m. Pacific, which means we're talking to someone who does awesome stuff with hardware. This week, we're talking to Daniel Davis, aka Tinkernut, and you've been in the game since like 2007, 2006? When did you get started?
I'm like a great grandpa in YouTube years. it was 2007. It was like the year or the year after Google bought them. So
Oh.
it
Well,
was,
before you okay, so since YouTube was just becoming a Google product, yeah, you've got some amazing old tutorials here on like editing started programs in XP. There was one that I was watching about how to create awesome DVDs. I love this one. You've got, is it this one? No. Is it this one? No, there's lots of really cool like how-tos on here. And oh yeah, I just want us to watch this intro real quick. I promise I won't
all
suggest it.
all of it's homemade.
I will not suggest this to much of this because I know that when I watch my old videos, it's like it's a whole thing.
Oh,
But
it's such a trip down memory lane. I'm all about it.
yeah, it's great. Look at this. You got 3D stuff and everything. This is your awesome DVD video intro, but also like how to create customized DVDs. Amazing. So in the era of 2007, this is what
Yeah,
the world
I,
looked
I,
like.
that video didn't age as well as some of the other ones that I've
Well,
made.
if I want to create an awesome DVD, now I know how to do it.
It's
So
true, with nice menus and everything. Yeah.
yeah. And it,
I like to use open source software back in the day,
mm,
before Adobe just kind of dominated my life. But yeah, all that, most everything was done using open source software, video editing tools, 3D graphics tools. I think I made that intro in Blender. But man, yeah, those were the days.
indeed. And nowadays, you are still publishing content, but it's more stuff around like you do a lot of Raspberry Pi stuff, including not
Yeah.
just the large scale Raspberry Pis, but also the Raspberry Pi Pico and things with like that with soldering and everything. And you've really gone into hardware more. Would you say that you started out as more as a software person and turned into more of a hardware person, or have you um, did you have training in electronics already?
Yeah, most of this is self-taught. I definitely have a background more on the software side of things, but I've always had a passion for hardware. Just could never really afford a bunch of different hardware to play around with. But the Raspberry Pi definitely changed that because I think it was released in what, like 2012 or something like that, and it was super cheap. Still is if you can find them. Hopefully, the stock gets back to balance. Uh,
Mm,
but it was definitely so eye-opening for me because I really wanted to be able to control stuff, like control robots, control motors, control lights.
mm.
And I had tried my hand at like the parallax systems, and they were just so difficult to use. But the Raspberry Pi just like blew my mind as far as the ease of being able to write a Python script and turn your lights on and off, and that just yeah, there's like I always consider myself a like a perpetual beta tester, and of all the things that I've tried, like that's just it's like been my gateway drug to robotics and hardware. It's
Absolutely.
amazing. I love it.
So yeah, the parallax kits tend to be a lot more sort of like it's just straight up a robot, whereas Raspberry Pi, like coming at it from a Raspberry Pi point of view, it's a lot more sort of computery, I guess. Like,
Yeah, Arduino's right up there as well, and I did start out with
mhm.
Arduinos, but at the time of its release, the Raspberry Pi was cheaper than Arduinos, and I'm like, well, I could get just a simple machine that's not a computer or an actual computer that can do the same thing, and that's where the Raspberry Pi filled that need. Um, to me, I equate it to like the Commodore 64 and how that changed a generation as far as
Mm,
of tinkerers and programmers. And if you go back further than that, the Altair, like there's some computers that just really shape a DIY generation and a maker generation. And I would say there's the Altair, the Commodore 64, and the Raspberry Pi right up there with it.
You got an amazing aesthetic on here. So speaking of between Arduino and Raspberry Pi, you have this for no matter what videos you're doing, though, you have this old school. What would you call this? Vintage, old west.
Um, I would call it Art Deco grunge.
Ooh,
I love the I definitely love like the grunge aesthetic, but I also like the Art Deco aesthetic from like the 1920s and things like that. And so this is me just trying to visually incorporate those two. I would say
absolutely.
that this is me uh, also trying to flex my creative muscles as well in terms of artistic design and motion graphics and different things like that, because that's also another passion of mine, is the artistry of it.
Mm, we can tell. Just before we move on here, I want to make sure that we highlight, for example, you have a a whole website, tinkernut.com. We've got youtube.com/ at Tinkernut. You've also got Twitter, Tinkernut, Instagram, Tinkernut, the Tinkernerd, and a Hackster
Somebody stole
profile.
Tinkernut before I could get it.
Oh no! Boo.
Too
Uh,
late to Instagram.
Yeah. But, going back to your aesthetic, did you have any specific things that pushed you toward those? For example, Art Deco, I always come back to this game, Starship Titanic, that I played when I was a kid. That was like,
Mm,
I think that that's what for me seeded the, like, Art Deco love. It's just this
yeah.
incredible, like but yeah, for you, grunge and Art Deco, any particular artistic influences there?
Well, in the game aesthetic, well, what is it? Borderlands.
Oh, yeah, cell shading.
Um, yeah, and Fallout definitely. So yeah, I like the retro aesthetic, and for me, I've just always been like a retro person. All the things
Mhm.
that I was into, my is what my dad was into,
Uh-huh.
and so I've always appreciated like the retro artisticness of things. I feel like back, before a lot of computer generated stuff, just the artistic quality of things, especially things that were handmade, are in the early 1900s. Like that to me is like peak artistry as far as consumer goods. If you think about jukeboxes and like the old Coca-Cola signs,
Oh,
and
yeah.
like what's that? There, even gas pumps and radios, like the cathedral style
Oh,
radios.
yeah.
Just I really appreciate that aesthetic, even as far as technology, because the early 1900s is when technology really started to push into the consumer side of things, and and so I really appreciate that artistry and technology where they combine, and that's what I like to do in a lot of my projects as well. Is I like to take like old technology and make it new. Um, and oh yeah, there's that's a perfect example right there. So yeah, just the old aesthetic, the vintage look and feel, because I feel like that's really where the artistic side of things and the technological side of things shined. And I've found very few things nowadays that replicate that. But yeah, those pictures are perfect examples, and that gives you the example of the Art Deco.
That motorcycle, is that one of those roll I remember looking at the old Rolls-Royce, like, Phantom vehicles and stuff. That
Yeah,
might be a
yeah.
different one that looks like a
I feel
motorcycle.
like it's
Oh,
along that
gorgeous.
vein, and they made a train like that too. But I can't remember the name of the train. But
I don't know if you ever went to the Detroit Maker Faire, but at the Henry Ford Museum out there, they have some incredible old looking steam trains. They're so good.
wow, I have not been out there.
Oh, they're so good. And then this one too, you've got this beautiful tooled leather or maybe engraved wood aesthetic on there
It's
with,
yeah, it's tooled leather. Yeah. Um,
gorgeous.
I didn't make that. I would have loved to have made that, but yeah, just that aesthetic really jumps out to me.
Well, you
Um,
chose it and you hacked it.
yeah, but yeah, I even going beyond that, I even see uh, like technology goods, consumer goods like the iPod and early laptops and like PDAs and things like that as you know and even like the portable handheld games by like Tiger Electronics and things like
Oh,
that.
yeah.
I love those just the early technology and how it transformed people's lives before we had like phones and things like that. And I love the idea of just not letting them go to waste, being able to repurpose them, breathe new life into them, and that's really what I'm into now is taking old things and trying to make it so that they don't have to be thrown away in a landfill somewhere, where they can be repurposed. Um,
Absolutely, and that's you've shown that on a bunch of your more recent videos here, for example, upcycling old CD drives into a 3D printer, uh, using, well, this is more of the same one, but also, like, things to do with a broken laptop, touchpad hacking,
yeah,
uh,
there's so many
and
components, especially on the other stuff, older stuff that can be reused and repurposed, and that really, I feel like it's a shame to let number one that old technology go to waste, that aesthetic go to waste, that artistry go to waste, um, uh, and but also just being able to reuse it so that it's not forgotten. Um,
Mhm.
and there's some good projects that I haven't done that I've seen online about repurposing iPads using a Raspberry Pi. And I would love to be able to do stuff like that. Um, but that requires skill sets that are beyond mine. So maybe someday I'll partner with you, Alex, in your future uh, uh, um, design skills as far as being able to create circuit boards and things like that.
Let's make an Art Deco grunge companion bot with this guy. I feel like this kinda matches your aesthetic.
Oh wow, that
It's got
is
a little
really
gold heart.
awesome.
But enough about my stuff.
What does that do?
Oh,
Sorry.
it okay, so real quick, it's a breakout board for, you put a little breadboard here and you can attach like an Arduino or a Teensy or a Xiao board or a Qt Pi or whatever, or even a Raspberry Pi Pico, and you basically make little tiny connections between that and this header row here, and then you can break that really easily into like servos,
Oh, wow.
motors, speakers, LEDs, etc., whatever you want, and then it gets USB power for both of them from a little hacked USB
I love
cable,
it.
and then like
Love it.
this
Yeah,
bridges.
circuit board design is not something that I've gotten into
Oh,
too heavily. I made one of the videos. I think it was the uh, distance social distancing
oh
robot,
yeah.
whatever I called it, and that was my first foray into creating a custom circuit board. But yeah, that's a skill set that I would like to broaden for sure.
I saw it on your website, that's what it was. The social distancing project. Come here. Here we go. Simple social
Oh yeah,
distance
yeah, yeah.
detector.
So
Cool.
I made a circuit board for that, and it was really simple. It was using fritzing.
Ah, cool.
That shows how simple it was. Didn't even use a really good respectable program, just fritzing to create it.
You know what? Like, for 3D modeling, I use, Onshape most of the time, but I also use Tinkercad. It's got its uses, you know?
Yeah,
There's no shame in that.
yeah.
What do you
Quick
tend
prototyping.
Yeah, and, like, KiCad is open and free, but also sometimes you don't need a whole thing, and you don't need to put all that time into learning something. Like, it's awesome that there's
Right.
these tools to help people get started.
Yeah. I love
Good
it.
stuff. Um, so speaking of, sort of preserving things, keeping them out of the landfill, this is not only, like, about old tech, but it's also about the future, the planet and stuff,
Mhm.
and I have to bring this back to the fact that you had a baby girl in 2021, is that right?
I did. Yes, that's correct. Yeah, peak of the
Amazing.
pandemic.
How's that going?
A lot better. She's gonna be 3 soon. So yeah, it was August of 2020. So the very beginning of the pandemic. Um,
Wow.
and yeah, so she's definitely developing a personality,
Huh?
and that's a lot of fun. A lot of opinions, and that's a lot of fun too. But yeah, I always found human development and childhood development very fascinating. So she's our second. We also have a son too, and he's going to be turning 6.
Oh,
Uh, and so it's been so much fun just watching how they develop and their different personalities and how they learn. Because I mean that's a lot of why I started doing what I'm doing is because I like to uh, learn stuff, number one, but I also like to teach other people what I've learned and do it in a fun and engaging way. So they get to witness that firsthand.
absolutely. Have you built any projects that relate to helping you raise your children or work with them or play with them?
Yeah, when uh, our oldest Matthew was younger, uh, I we did create like a little nanny bot, or I
Oh,
created a little nanny bot just to because he was an explorer at like a year old. He would try to like climb over his crib um, and and just go thudding on the floor. So but he would just make so much noises that we just put a little um, camera in there and like a little motion detection alert system for if he was supposed to be taking a nap and wasn't, we could see if he needed to be attended to or if he was just playing around. And I tried my hand at making a camera that could switch from regular mode to night vision. Um,
ah.
and yeah, that was an interesting process. It worked somewhat, but not all the time. Yeah, I added a light sensor in there so that it would try to switch camera inputs depending on how much light was in the room. So
Mm.
yeah, that was a little fun. I did make a very basic temperature sensor as well,
Uh-huh.
just to if they did have some type of fever, we could see that. Um,
Huh.
but yeah, it was. Other than that, it's basically been making very kid-friendly robots. I did make
Yeah,
one.
we've got this Alexa Rook spin here.
Oh yeah, yeah. So this was so a lot of my projects are based on nostalgia, and no, I don't have it plugged in right now. And this was one of the things that I always wanted as a kid, but never could get. Uh,
Mm.
yeah, and so now that I'm adult, of course, I'm buying all my childhood nostalgia
Oh yeah.
things. But this one was broken when I bought it, and I knew that. But I bought it for the sole intention of being able to figure out how it worked and see if I could repurpose it. And sure enough, it worked, and it worked pretty well. I was able to get into the motor controls of it
Ooh,
without anything else, and just used a prototyping circuit board instead of an actual making an actual.
nice.
And this runs off Arduino, but basically you can plug any audio input into it, and it will analyze the wavelength of that audio and move the mouth accordingly.
Mm.
And then the eyes just blink up and down. But I was thinking about, use case, what use cases it would have. And the primary thing that came up was at the time I made this, Alexa was really big. So I just um, attached an Alexa to it and started asking it questions. And you can put a form of Alexa on a Raspberry Pi. So that's what I did with mine, so that I could attach a button to it to ask it a question, because you don't want Teddy Ruxpin recording you 24/7, waiting for the wake word. That would be even more terrifying than the bear itself is. So.
I think it's pretty cute, honestly.
Yeah, they're still trying to market on the nostalgia of it. So they have created newer ones in like the past 5 years that have LCD eyes, and that's just
That's
it's,
creepy. I don't think
it's
anyone likes LCD eyes, except for maybe, Adafruit has the monster mask, and they sell the little plastic domes that go over them. Those can look pretty cool, but yeah.
yeah. If you put them, yeah, and they marketed a lot as used for Halloween costumes, and that would be a
Mhm.
good use,
Yeah,
or
yeah, yeah.
actual costumes.
Like, it's
Yeah,
okay if this
it's
is creepy. It's sort of, like, meant to be that way.
but maybe the new Apple VR headsets will make something
Yeah.
like that a norm. Who knows?
Mm,
Apple's good at creating norms.
we shall see. Speaking of teaching teaching people and moving things into the future, you now are working at Duke and as a content specialist, and unfortunately we can't really share much of that stuff, but the video thumbnail includes a 3D printed hand you'd been working on, and maybe you can tell us a little bit about the project even if we can't like necessarily look at the content that you've made around it.
Oh yeah, for sure. So yeah, I was hired on to create learning content at Duke last August, so almost a year, and and a lot of the interest there is programming and artificial intelligence now. So I was trying to think of different projects that it could encapsulate both of those. And of course, the Raspberry Pi is perfect for that because it's a great edge computing device. And and so a thought that I had was being able to use a Raspberry Pi to track hand movements, and then using a robotic hand, which I have right here, to mimic those hand movements. So that's still in the works, but that's going to be my first foray into AI, or like creating AI projects, and hopefully I can translate that into my YouTube videos without creating a conflict of interest with my current job. But yeah, that's something that I really really am fascinated by is artificial intelligence and how to incorporate it into physical computing and interacting with our daily lives. Because it's easy to interact with your voice or a keyboard or a mouse, but to be able to have it interact back through motors and light switches, that's something completely different that I'm nervous and excited to see what the future holds for that.
Ooh, yeah. Tell us a little bit. I'm gonna go subscribe. Everyone can go subscribe to see when Daniel's content comes out on there. But yeah, could you tell us a little bit more about your journey, like how you ended up doing this content specialist thing at Duke? You also worked as a makerspace, a liaison type person. I forget the exact title, but for Durham, North Carolina. And maybe you can tell us about how you got into, from starting your channel to working in this stuff as a professional.
Oh yeah, yeah. So right out of college, my first job was in IT. It was at Dell Computers, and while I was there, anybody that's in the technology field, I'm sure can sympathize. You just, if you know anything about computers, you always have people coming up and asking you how to fix computers, what's wrong with your computer. Like every holiday where I would go home. I would just be bombarded with questions about technology. And so
That's
while
so
I
cool.
was at Dell, YouTube was starting to become a thing, and I was thinking, well, maybe I could just create a video about the most common questions and then post those and just refer people to the video instead of having to repeat myself over and over again. And, so that's kind of how I got started with the YouTube side of things,
Hmm.
and it start shortly after I started posting videos, they enabled um, revenue share for content creators. That's how early this was. This was before, like the first couple of videos, they didn't have it where they would share the revenue with content creators. But when they started sharing that, I was seeing that I could potentially make a living off of doing this. So uh, after a year or so, it seemed like a viable option. So I quit my job at Dell and just started doing YouTube videos full time. And I did that for full time solely for about 4 or 5 years.
Wow.
And when we started thinking about having kids, um, in the US especially, the biggest problem about being like a solo YouTube creator is insurance.
Mm-hmm.
Insurance is just super expensive if you're paying for it on your own out of pocket. So I just decided, I'll continue doing the videos, but I also need a full time job if we're gonna have kids, and so just to cover the insurance. So I was looking for jobs that interested me, uh, and so it was either going to be content creator or something that has to do with maker spaces. So in my like job search, I only searched for like After Effects or Raspberry Pis or Arduinos. Those are
Mm.
the and 3D printers. Those are the keywords that I searched for. And um, it just so happened that our county was starting to um, want to put maker spaces across the county, and they needed somebody to help make that happen and help launch that. So I got hired for that position, to start adding maker spaces and create makerspace content for the county for people to be able to use and access. And they hosted them at our local library. So it was the libraries across the county. So it was accessible by anybody that paid taxes. um, and it really, my tenure there really pushed my appreciation for public libraries, because it's definitely one of the few places that's left nowadays where it doesn't matter who you are, how much you make, you can still go and use the resources and not have to pay anything. Um,
Yeah.
and I really appreciated that about it. And any time that I have a chance to do programs for the library system, I'm all about it. I love it. Um, but because of that, and because of my YouTube channel, the collab, which is Duke's Makerspace, um, they were looking for somebody to start taking some of their learning initiatives and make them asynchronous, essentially putting them online. So that's currently what I'm doing. They thought that I would be a good fit for that, being able to create online videos and online learning uh, infrastructures, and um, and and just have that available to the Duke students and to the Duke faculty. So unfortunately, I can't show any of that here at the moment, but hopefully soon there'll at least be some shortened versions of those learning pathways, and or uh, just little teasers at least on the YouTube channel, just so that I can show what I've been working on to the greater world outside of Duke.
Yeah. If
That's,
you don't, what's up?
I said that's the hope.
Oh yeah. Well, I hope so too. Um, Switching gears for a minute, let's talk about 3D printing and stuff. We talked about a little bit about it a second ago, but yeah, you do your YouTube live streaming camera here, your Twitch-O-Matic Raspberry Pi project, and then also your I love this arcade
Oh
lunchbox
yeah.
that you made. It's so cool, and you shared that on Thingiverse. I love it when people share open source files for the 3D printing and stuff. But yeah, tell us about your process with 3D printing. What kind of a printer do you have? What kind of CAD do you use? Are you a Fusion person, a Tinkercad person? What do you prefer for this stuff?
Yes, all the above.
Ah,
um, yeah, I think I got my first 3D printer in like 2015, um, and was just like so blown away by the ability to design something and be able to create it without having to have woodworking or metalworking skills,
mhm.
which I don't really have any of those. So yeah, a lot of people, a lot of my friends that were getting 3D printers was like, yeah, it's a really cool idea, but not really practical for me because I can't really think of anything to print. But for me, I could not stop thinking of things to print. Um, and most of them were projects that needed cases, and that's like been the primary the primary use case is all these projects that I want to do, finding some way to house them, some way to make all the parts fit together, and the 3D printer has been amazing at that. I haven't gotten any good name brand 3D printers yet. Mine have a very specific need, and that is to be enclosed because I don't want my kids' fingers kind of poking around in
Ooh,
there.
yeah.
That kind of limits the type of 3D printer I can get. So I just have a Quiddy X Pro behind me right now. And before that, I had what was a Da Vinci? A Da Vinci. Um, it was a massive 3D printer. It was heavy too, but it printed like 1 foot by 1 foot by 1 foot,
Wow.
and and it was all enclosed, and it was a really good starter 3D printer for different projects. Um, but yeah, as far as design, I started out. I mean, my first 3D files were made in AutoCAD a while ago, but being able to like it was so time consuming. And for yeah, that's the exact one I had.
Oh, nice.
The exact one I had, the DaVinci 1.0A. It was yeah, it was a beast.
Looks like it. Incredible build volume.
Yes, yeah, that's what I liked about it. I was trying and super economical too.
Nice.
It was definitely one that had the largest build volume for the price. That was also enclosed. Um, but yeah, it did a good job. The only downside is that they have uh, filament cartridges, which is
Um,
not necessarily cool, but there are ways to bypass that, which I don't think would be legal for me to share. But you know, Google's a good resource for that. But yeah, it was really nice. As far as design, I when I'm designing something very quick, I love Tinkercad because it's just so quick. And
yeah.
like I could you know draft something up in you know less than an hour and have a case ready to go and ready to 3D print. But when I want something that is more complicated and more detailed, I definitely use Fusion 360, and I love Fusion 360.
Yeah.
Um,
On this one, you're showing the Tinkercad interface, and one thing that I love
yeah,
about that program specifically, is its ability to easily pull in an SVG and turn that into something that you can extrude through your model, either as a positive body or as, like, a negative space thing, and that just, like,
exactly.
for example, with this Twitch logo, you know, it's so easy to just pull in an SVG and be like, "I want this to be a physical thing now." I use
Right.
that a lot.
Yeah, it
Also
definitely has its limitations, but you know,
mhm.
if you're doing something that's quick and not too complicated, it's very amazing as far as like um, just the ability to draft something up. Like it's rapid prototyping is what that is.
Absolutely. For, like, parametric purposes or, like, something super precise, maybe not so much, but, like, yeah, also very easy to take 2 different models that already exist and mash them up, get stuff from Thingiverse. You're sharing stuff back to Thingiverse, which I think is awesome. I love to see that. And yeah, someone could like, I've gotten GoPro, connectors off of Thingiverse and
Yes,
then, like,
yeah,
mashed them up with whatever. So good.
I love Thingiverse. It's a good resource. Um, but yeah, that's kind of my process. It's not terribly too complicated. It starts with the project and then thinking of the design. Sometimes it's actually vice versa. I see a design that I think it would be cool to emulate or replicate, and then I try to think of some use case for it as far as the electronics are concerned. Um, but yeah, I did all that in Tinkercad as well, primarily because I spent a little bit of time creating Raspberry Pi assets and Raspberry Pi camera assets that I could just import. Oh, so that 3D printer right there that I'm showing, that
Uh-huh.
was actually at the Maker Lab at that the county had. At so this was at like a local mall, and there was a makerspace inside one of the places at the mall, and that was an old 3D printer that they had that I got up and running and started 3D printing stuff on it. And that
Nice.
had the build volume too. I think that was like 16 by 16 or
The
something.
uh the mirrored print bed is something I don't see a ton.
Yeah, yeah. That one operated instead of what operated by strings. It had a string and pulley system, and so it was very yeah. You can maybe in some of those photos you can see the string
Right here.
system, but yeah, it was very finicky
Oh yeah.
to calibrate and to keep running. But yeah, you can see the strings along the z or the what is that, the y-axis, x-axis
Yeah,
there.
the little sort of tucked into this extrusion here.
Yeah,
Yeah. Huh,
yeah,
interesting. Of course, by the time you cover the mirror plate in hot glue or in a glue stick, it's not
yeah,
as shiny anymore. My build plate is a huge mess. But yeah, the glue stick works. It's so cool.
yeah. But
You've also got so
I had a lot of assets in that I had created previously in Tinkercad, so it was very easy to create negative spaces from those assets, like the Raspberry Pi camera and the Raspberry Pi. I could just use those files that I already had in Tinkercad and just create negative spaces from those. So that was actually very handy too, being able to do that.
good stuff. Yeah. Okay, I'm not gonna let myself get distracted by this because that would
I made,
absolutely
I made
happen.
another version for my son. That was something else that I did. It was more kid friendly. I like sprayed it in a rubber coating,
Ooh,
and made a kid camera.
nice. So tell us about the name behind your channel. How did you come up with Tinkernut?
A friend actually called me, said that I was a tinker nut because I like to tinker all the time, and that's all I did. Um, but so that's kind of the origin of the name. But I love word mashes. I have like a list of words that I think that would be cool to match together. So if you ever need a band name, let me know. Um, but but yeah, I love thinking of my like whenever I'm trying to think of a name for a project or another site or another channel or something like that, I'll go to like there's some like name checking websites online so you can see what's already been used in social media and if it's available, like if somebody's registered it a name on Facebook or Twitter or Google, or .com or .net. So I challenge myself to like come up with a name that doesn't have any ones or zeros or numbers
Mm,
afterwards, and something that sounds cool to see if anybody else has used it. So I like trying to come up with names that nobody else has used but still sound natural.
yeah, good stuff.
And I would share some of those, but I don't want anybody to steal them yet.
Yeah, yeah, you gotta keep that close to your chest. There's so much cool stuff here. Uh, I was looking at where's the one with the retro camera? Well, there's all kinds of stuff that we could dig into here, but let's see. How about you have a video on here from a while ago, let's see, 14 years ago, about how to map your mind. And to me, as a creator and a person who has jobs I have to do, keeping track of projects, keeping track of the progress of things, and also of future ideas and like stuff like, if I want to build this type of a robot, like what kind of animal goes with like what type of controller and what kind of actuators and sensors and things. And like for me, this is a huge topic that really integrates with my practice as a creator and also as a person, just a human trying to exist in the world. So I'm curious, you know, in the past you were clearly using FreeMind. Do you still use FreeMind? Does it still exist? Have you moved on to other strategies? And how do you keep your stuff organized?
You know, that's an ever evolving thing, is keeping myself organized. You know, it's funny you should bring that up because that's definitely an older video, and I would often review free and open source software back then because that was before, to be honest, that's before I had a video camera. So it was everything that I could do with screenshots and screen recordings.
Oh.
Um, but I'm not sure FreeMind still exists, but I do know there are some software um, uh, um, websites that I had reviews on that I put links to in my comments, and then my I got notifications, you know, several years later that I was violating YouTube's terms of
Oh
service.
no.
The video had to be taken down, or you know, edited or whatever. Um, and it's because those initial websites had become defunct and
Oh.
had then the URL had been changed to a less savory
Oh
website.
man. Well, it appears
Yeah,
that FreeMind
you
at least still exists. It
yeah,
hasn't been updated since 2014, but you can still get it
right.
on SourceForge.
Nice.
That's exciting.
Currently, I have been using OneNote. That seems to
Oh
be
yeah.
the one that seems to fit my train of thought because I love nested things, um, and also being able to incorporate URLs, images, you know, clips of stuff, and that seems to do it all. And I've tried a lot of different ones. I've tried a lot of open source ones and free ones that have been out there. And you know, some of them kind of fit the bill, but this one just seems to be the one that is on the most devices and does all the things that I need. And as far as how my mind specifically works. Uh, so yeah, that's the one that I've been stuck with for a little while.
Do you do it when you're starting out with a project? Do you start with a OneNote document? Do you do any hand sketching? Do you sketch things out in
I
CAD?
do. I have a notebook. I don't know if it's over here or not. Um, I don't see it, but yeah, I have a notebook that I will sketch stuff out on, including like circuits and how things are gonna get how things will fit together. Um, but yeah, a lot of times my inspiration comes from just things that I see in the real world or find online and be like, man, that was cool technology. I wonder if you know it can be updated or repurposed, or just finding out some of the new things that Raspberry Pis and Arduinos can do because they're doing stuff, new things constantly. Um, and so then it's trying to figure out, okay, how could this new feature be used practically, or how can it be used in the real world? And then that'll just start me thinking about um, sketching stuff out and you know, finding resources online to see what can be done and how it can be done. So a lot of times it's kind of like the functionality that starts first. I would
Hmm.
say, like how I want it, how I would like something to function, and then finding out if it's possible, given because I don't want to make videos that use a lot of really expensive tools and equipment. So something that can be recreated using, you know, reasonably priced parts.
Nice.
So
It's
that's
also
that's why I like Raspberry Pis and Arduinos so much. They're very reasonably priced.
Yeah, that's also something I was wondering if whether you, like, ever branched out into, like, NVIDIA Jetson or whatever, but it's very true that, like, those are definitely more high-end, they go for, like,
Right?
hundreds and hundreds of dollars compared to, you know, an Arduino or Pi that you can pick up for 30 bucks, and, yeah, I do also love that those are so accessible, and there's also so much content around those on the internet, you know?
Mm-hmm.
There's a strong community base,
That's the
people like
biggest thing.
you.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing is the community. Because yeah, I've had a lot of different boards and variant boards. Um, but yeah, the primary thing is the communities behind them, and that also kind of drives the content and the creation. Because yeah, you could use a third party board like the Banana Pi or something like that, which it's a good product.
Mhm.
Um, but the community behind it isn't as broad, so there's not as much stuff being done with it. But when you have something that so many people are using, that you get some extremely creative stuff, and creative users that push it to its limits, and that could be done with any product. It's just which product has that community that's willing to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of sort of going back to our inspiration topic from a minute ago, are there other artists or creators or builders that you look to as inspirations who sort of informed your practice or inspire you?
I would say that's ever evolving as well.
Oh, yeah.
uh, but whenever I started doing this, and realized that I can create content online that people would enjoy and that's educational, like my first inspirations that I thought of were like those old shows I grew up with, like Bill Nye the Science Guy or Beekman's World.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
where they would take tech topics, or theirs was more scientific topics, and make them engaging for audiences that know nothing about it. So that's I would say kind of the driving force behind what I would like to do is just taking tough tech topics and being able to make them fun and engaging that anybody could watch. And I get so many amazing emails, daily or weekly, um, just of people that have been watching. So if somebody started watching my YouTube channel in 2007, they would be what, like, and they were in grade school, they would be well out of college now.
Wow.
So I'm getting emails from them saying, you really helped pique my interest in technology when I had none before, or you really helped. Oh, good old Beekman.
Yeah.
You really helped me understand this concept that I was struggling with, and now I'm in the computer science field or computer engineering, or different things like that. So that's always been really inspiring to me, is um, just being able to pass back or continue that education.
That
Because
is
I'm
so cool.
yeah, yeah, it's a good motivation to have too.
Yeah, I love it. You
Minds.
you get inspired by Bill Nye and Beekman, and then you realize that you are the Bill Nye slash Beekman for a
Hence
new
the
generation.
costume, right? Because it's all theatrical from my point of view. Is that's part of the engagement and the branding. And they each had their, even if you go back to, what was it, like Captain Kangaroo, that was before my time. But they all, and even to an extent Mr. Rogers as well, they all had very specific looks, they had very specific themes, and they stuck to that. And uh, um, and yeah, that's kind of, when I decided that I was going to do this, I wanted to have like a very specific brand and a very specific look, and so I've tried to keep that up. And to be honest, when I do a YouTube video where I'm not wearing this, it feels weird. It feels off.
Well, you very much got your own aesthetic, and then, when you got your intro and the theme music and everything, it's all very sort of coherent along with the
Yeah,
name.
and that's
So good.
it's fun to watch the iterations of the intros over
Uh-huh.
the years, because you have that one that you showed at the beginning of this stream.
Yeah!
Yeah, and then it evolved into this. I'll tell you what. When I discovered After Effects, that changed my world. Because like talking about inspirations as well, I would say that Walt Disney was another one because he was able to not only take like something simple like Mickey Mouse and make it popular amongst other competing animations at the time, but he really pushed the limits of what animation could do using technology. Like Snow White was a technological marvel at the time. And not only that, but he continued to push technology and arts with Disney World and the Imagineers and being able to create audio animatronics, like he was
Yeah.
and so that that medium of arts and technology is where I live, and that's what I like to do. And so After Effects and it really helped make it so that I could not only teach about technology, but also show it in a very fun visual way. Because yeah, I before I got into technology, I was definitely an artist first. I loved drawing and painting and creating artistic things, and I still love to do that. Except I like to do it from a technological point of view now.
Yeah, there's so much I feel like the Imagineering program is so legendary in this area. And we
Yeah.
have a comment from Chad who said Chad Master.
Oh, you chat.
11 years ago, this guy got me interested in the Raspberry Pi. I'm 26 now. He played a huge role in my interest in tinkering as a teen. So good.
That makes me feel really good and happy to hear. Um, yeah, that's the other thing about YouTube is um, it at least right now it doesn't die. It hasn't died. Whatever's on there is on there, and I'm not really wanting to remove any videos. Um, so yeah, depending on like topical interests of the year, like some people go back and watch some of my older like 11, 12-year-old videos and still glean stuff from it. So that's I mean, some of them are definitely dated, but some of the technology topics are timeless because people are constantly still, at the entry level of it and trying to find an entry level to it, into it. And that's where I hope to bridge that gap. Like I try not to do anything really advanced. I've tried a series where, I'll get more and more progressively advanced, but most people out there that go to my channel are wanting to learn something that they didn't know before and get in on the ground floor of that knowledge. And so my idea is just to keep um, the content simple and ground level, no matter what it is, and just keep introducing new tech concepts in that way, and not really ever get too advanced. I mean, if considering that I started like um, you know a long time ago at this point, I could have continued to step up that knowledge and make it really really advanced, um, but yeah, I've chosen not to do that. I just like to keep things basic because in my mind, my target audience is the entry level knowledge seekers,
Yeah,
and
it's
that's
very universal, and there's always gonna be beginners. Like, there's always
yeah,
gonna be people who are starting out in this stuff. And, by the time I feel like you've gone through a certain number of topics, like, the older ones that you've done are already ready to be updated, so it's not like you're ever gonna run
yes,
out either.
yeah, yeah.
Well,
The older ones, some of the ones, like especially with the first Raspberry Pis, I wish that I could redo those because the Raspberry Pi has so many more features now that it would just make it so much easier. Um, but yeah, maybe I will redo some of those. Tinkernut 2.0.
well, okay, actually, I wasn't gonna do this, but since we've got your, I showed some of your sort of more possibly more embarrassing, older stuff, which I see that as, like, it's an indicator of growth.
I don't find it embarrassing at all. No,
Yeah,
I
no, yeah.
find it very nostalgic.
But this is the thing that I'm trying to work on this year is, like, redoing these ones because these are some of the first videos I
Oh,
ever made at Hackster, and they are just, like it is I'm starting out with this like infinity video mode. Well, it's not even loading right now, but it's
The
like,
internet does not want us to watch it.
yeah, no, maybe I'm sparing myself there. But anyway, like I feel like that stuff is definitely ready for a refresh. And
Yeah,
for you, since we're sort of coming to the end of our time, I really appreciate you sticking around with me this long. Everyone who's joining us, awesome. Thank you for coming in and sitting in
yeah,
with us.
yeah.
What can we look for in the future from Tinkernut?
Well, I am going to start posting more content, and it's going to be primarily focused on the Raspberry Pi. Like, there's so many tech topics out there, but with a full-time job and 2 kids, I have to start narrowing my focus.
Mm.
So I'm going to start exploring the capabilities of Raspberry Pis and the different things that you can do with it, and take that more as a focus, and start to dabble in AI, because I figured that is the new frontier of technology, and it's right up there with the invention of the internet in my eyes.
Mhm.
So I feel like more and more people should learn at least the basic principles and concepts of artificial intelligence, and I feel like that's something that I could hopefully deliver in a fun and engaging way, but we'll see. Um, we'll
Nice.
we'll we'll see if you see this robot hand behind me posted and moving with AI.
Uh, it makes me think of the Garth from Wayne's World. You just keep a hammer handy in case it decides to have a mind of its own. But
Yeah, exactly. Nice. I like that throwback.
yeah. Well, anyway, so people can keep track of all this future coolness on tinkernut.com. We've got Tinkernut on YouTube, Tinkernut on Twitter, Tinkernut the Tinker Nerd on Instagram, and then also on Hackster. We just love all your projects. There's so much cool aesthetic stuff you've got going on, and it's such an approachable type of content that you're sharing. And obviously, you've touched a lot of people's lives, and it's just an honor to have you on the channel. Thank you so much for joining.
Oh, it's an honor to be here and to finally
Oh,
meet you in person. I remember
yes.
when you did your shoulder
Oh,
owl,
yeah. He's
I was like, oh man, it's so cool.
working on a revamp with this guy, so he's like off the shelf for now. But
Oh
yeah.
man, I'm excited to see the revamp.
Me too. We'll see how it goes. Thank
Now
you
that's
again.
something I would make for my kids for sure.
Yes. What? Wait. Okay. So, what animal would you make, or something made up, or?
Squirrel.
Ah, I love it.
For me,
Yes, I would
for
love to see
me.
that.
For my son, it would probably be some type of Pokemon. For my daughter, it would be a unicorn.
I think someone asked if my Fennec was like a Flareon or something. I don't know. Some Pokemon
Oh yeah, it does
are
kind
open
of look
source.
like that.
I'm
Yeah.
not sure, but anyway, thank you again. Thank you, everybody. Have an awesome rest of your day, and hack on.
Thank you all.